recording. All right, and we are on. Starting on time this time, right? We're going to be covering chapter 17 and 18. So, what we were saying, which you guys didn't get a chance to hear, because I didn't record it, but so we're talking about 17. It's talking about the journal, and it's just repetitive. Like Donna said, you said it's just basically repeating itself from all the other chapters. So, it was easy for me to get through it because I kind of just skimmed. I just skimmed through it because it was like I know the stuff, and it just kept going over and over again. But what I can appreciate about it is, like I always said, I like reading the notes that he puts in here, and then I like reading the case illustrations. That's what I enjoy the most of everything that I'm reading here, because it just gives you real life scenarios on what he's experienced, which is more interesting than all of the political jargon that's going on in the book.
Well, and the one thing that did surprise me when I was reading through it, I think that I didn't realize that all your journals are admissible in court. That they could come take all your. I had no clue that they could take them all and look at like, oh.
I mean, and you know what it would be? It would be if one of your entries was questionable. It's like, okay, well, if you got this type of questionable, if you're keeping records like this, then what other, records are looking like this? So it's kind of like, it's kind of like the saying, I can't think of it. It's like on the tip of my tongue. I can't think of it. It'll come to me. But basically, I was just trying to say, don't give, like, when you give them an inch, like, don't give them an inch. Like, just don't give them any little reason to, have to. Just keep good records, of all your transactions.
I get better at it. Because if I look at the first ones that I did, now I've been a notary for a year. I haven't done a whole lot. But if I looked at the first ones, I'm like, ooh, those probably were not good. And it gets better as I go. But I'm like, uh-oh.
Well, what type of journal do you use? Do you use one of the modern journals?
I don't know if it'd be modern or not. It's in the other room. It's kind of a long one. It has many lines. I don't like it. Half part of
the
me
one
wants
that
to another one, because you have like 5 different that you can make 5 different signatures on it. So it looks very basic to me, and the note section's really tiny on it.
Okay.
But what it was
is it the one that stretches over 2 pages?
No, it's just it's kind of straight up and down like this, and just opens up. So one page, you have 1 page here, 1 page here. It's not a dual page. It's like a book, like if you had opened a book. So, and I'm not too thrilled about it. Right, when I got it because they said go to these are the places that are authorized to get your journals and your stamp from. So that's what I went with. But then after I started using it, it's like, I don't like it. It's even hard to cover up the information above it. It's just, it's not, for me, it's not.
Do you have like the blocker? Like
I don't have the blocker. I want to get the blocker by the looks of it. I don't know, covering up all that. I don't know if it depends on how big it is, and I'll have to see, because I don't know if it'll cover everything above it, because it looks more longer than it is this way. So I don't know. But I've been looking at them. I'll just bring a piece of light cardboard or something to cover all that up or something.
Well, you know what? The very first journal that I bought, I'm going to show you the very first one that I used. I got it off Amazon because I didn't like the one that I saw that the NNA had, but I kind of wish that I did use that one, but it's okay. But I had made my own little sheet. I forget what you call it. I can't think tonight. Just can't. I had made my own little cover on it. Oh, it's not in here. But what I did was I had went to the store. So this was my first one.
Okay.
This I have some records in it. So let me just show you and this is how it looks.
Okay. Uh-huh.
And I didn't like this one. I didn't like it. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of it. But when I first got it, I thought that it would be cool, And so the reason I asked why you didn't like the way that you were keeping records, because aren't you just filling out everything that's in here?
Yeah.
That's so it's not bad. You just
But
filling out what's
it's all
in.
the notes. It's learning all the notes and stuff like that. I was very not too detailed like I'm learning to be. When you're first starting out, I don't know how long you've been a notary, but it's for me, it was a year in November, and I'm only doing it like really. I can't do it until after 2:30, and so there's only a few hours and weekends that I can get in there. So I haven't done a whole lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to take a long time to fill that up at this rate, but it's very vague, and it's just learning it. It's just all these details and
Yeah, yeah, a lot of details. A lot. Okay. Now let me see. I did highlight some things in here.
I did, and then I
I
even
like
touched one. So go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Okay, well, the only thing I did was I just highlighted some of the bullets on here, like the numbers in bold, like instilling a procedure and a habit of diligence, which I definitely agree with. The more diligent you are in, recording your notarizations, it's going to just become second nature, as soon as you get it, and I guess that's for notaries who don't really use a journal. Like as soon as I get there, the first thing I'm doing is whipping out my journal, whipping out my thumb printer, asking for IDs. It's like the first thing that I'm doing. Like I don't even think to do anything else. Of course I do want to see the document, but I don't notarize or anything. I want to view the document first to see what I'm notarizing. And then, okay, everything looks cool. Now let me go ahead and ID and, all that stuff. But yeah, I thought that was a good thing to highlight in here. Like, yeah, you definitely want to have a habit of journaling. Now, what was your question? I'm very curious.
Okay, so we're talking about being very detailed, and on page 249, 17.4. Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me get to it. Okay, yes.
It says, kind of like at the bottom, yet the notary should not be reluctant to make desired modifications to the headings, and notary should especially not hesitate to expand the headings by using 2 sets of lines or entries and more space if needed. Do you just go down to the next one? Or how do you, so if you have a 2, let's say 2 and 3, because they have to be numbered. Or at least for us, it has to be numbered. You have 2 and 3. Do you just go down to 3 and just expand it down there and cross things out, or?
Yes.
Okay.
And then you can put refer to number or refer to entry. Like what we were talking about, if you had to make a correction on a notarization you already did, you wouldn't edit the journal entry you did first. You would create a new one, and then you would put in the notes reference entry so that they know that these 2 entries tie into each other.
Okay, so they go together. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to figure out, well, how do you do that without, because I knew everything needed to be numbered, and it's like, wait. Okay,
Yep.
that makes sense.
Yes. Let me see. And I like how they say it should use, securely bound and commercially printed in notary journal if,
Right.
preferably anyway.
Yeah.
Now this was the one here.
Which one?
Now I know how they on page 248, I highlighted this whole paragraph right where it starts where it says, however, some notaries prefer prefer to have two separate journal books, one in which they keep at their place of business and one at home. And so I can see how that could be an exception because if you became a notary for your employer, then you would keep that journal at work. It's for your, it's for employer purposes. But if you're doing notarizations outside the home too, you're going to have that journal for that. So I can see how that could be an exceptional thing. So
It's two journals
yeah.
and two stamps. So one stamp and journal stays with you, the other stays at work, as long as you keep it secure.
Yep. So both, both. So you're not carrying them back and forth. Because like I said, what if something happens along the way? You damage it because you're moving it back and forth. So I guess that would be an exceptional practice to adopt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's always been, don't keep more than one active journal. But after reading this, it was like, oh, well, I could see where that will be an exception to the rule, Let me see, what else did I? Location of notarial ceremony. Now, let me see. I was looking in my old journal. Let me see if it has it on here. It does not. So, in my new the journal, I had made a journal for myself, and I had it commercially printed and everything, but I made a point to add a section in there where it asks for the signer address and then it asks for the location that you actually notarized it, because they're not always the same. But I noticed in the modern journals they don't have a space for that. So if you are notarizing somewhere that is not the person's address, you would need to add that in the additional information section or the notes section, like, met here, notary, or, Starbucks. I mean, put in their location of notarization the Starbucks, and then, the address where the Starbucks was or whatever.
Because
And so I thought that was
mine's only the name and
really.
address of the ID. It doesn't give anything else.
Wow. So yeah, that made me look at that, and I'm like, I thought that was already in the journal. Then I looked and I said, oh no, it's not. It's not
It's
in the
not.
modern journal. It sure isn't. And then what I also found interesting, where he put on here the time of start and end of notarization. Did you see that on page 252?
Yeah, I circled it.
Oh, right. Like, I would have never thought to do that.
Well, and it makes sense if it comes into question or anything like that. If it comes into question about you changing things or something, well, she was only here for like 10 minutes or whatever, was there adequate time for something to happen?
Exactly. Or like, how much time would you need to be there to give legal advice? That's what he was saying. Like, you're not there long enough to give legal advice. Yeah, so I thought that was pretty interesting. And type of document, they do have a section in there for that, but you would never think to put the number of pages in your journal, right?
Nope.
Wouldn't think to put the number of pages of the document with. Yeah. Yeah. So it does. It does, absolutely. So definitely taking some of the pointers that I'm highlighting pointers in here and including that in my course, so that I can have that to go off on too. Because not everybody has read this book or the first one, right? So me pulling some information from them and then adding my own personal experiences because I do majority general notary work. I do loan signings too, but I enjoy doing the general notary versus loan signings, and I love doing online too, online notary. So I have all of that experience to put into it, so I can share. So yes, number of pages. That'll be another one. Let me
Yep.
let me add that to my notes. Number of pages. Type of document is already on there in your journal, right? Because it asks for either type or description of the
It asks
journal.
for, mine asks for is an acknowledgement you're at, and that stuff. So it already asked for that.
Mhm.
Signer's name and contact information, it does.
Let me see, number of pages. Okay. And what else did I highlight? And that's a lengthy chapter.
Mental competence and signer willingness does not have that on there. That will have to be notated.
Oh, right. Yeah. Willing and aware. You know, put that on there. Willing and aware. Now here, because you don't really think about it, like you just have them put the thumbprint and that's it. But it said that you should be careful to obtain a full and clear one of the right thumb on page 260.
Right.
And of course, if the right thumb is unavailable, then you could use the left thumbprint, but you want to make sure you note that, like, used left thumbprint somewhere in that entry. Because, like I said, the thumbprint can accurately and absolutely identify a person, whether they have the name you identified them as or not. So, whether you
That's what I need to
think
look for here is the thumbprints. Because I think we can. It's not, you have to, but you can, I think. And I'm going to look that up and see if that's a definite. Because I think that's, a good way of making sure, hey, yeah, they were here. That's their thumbprint. There's no question who was there.
No question. Yeah, absolutely. And no, there are only a couple of states that require it, but all other states don't. So they recommend it though. Like there is nothing. There's only there's a couple states that require it. There is a couple states that prohibit it, and then others it's just if you want to, you can collect it. But definitely you should because without a doubt, it identifies a person 100% that they were actually physically present there, and they can't deny it. Like you can't deny it. I have your thumbprint here.
About taking their photograph. I know back there it talked about getting the signer's photo.
I did, yes, but I decided to just do the thumbprint anyway. So I'm using an electronic journal, and what I'm having them do is I'm having them leave a thumbprint on a slide that I created, and then I leave the slide with them, but I take a picture of it, and that picture is attached to their journal entry.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because even though they won't have the actual paper, but because of the way technology is right now, they can use the digital photo and still be able to identify, yeah, she was, that person was there with her at the time. And then the journal entry is time stamped as well, automatically as soon as I get there. So, yeah. I was just like, I don't know if I want to be taking pictures of people. I was just like, I'm just going to just take a picture of and I did some research to make sure that that would be possible. Like, could I just have them do the thumbprint and then take a picture of it and add it to the entry? And it said, yeah, that is, it could still be used if challenged in court. And so I'm like, that works out for me.
Yep.
All right. And then it also says here, you still want to record your refusals. So if you, for some reason, can't notarize for them, or if they just decide they don't want to do it anymore, you want to record that and the reason why. Like, okay, why did you start and suddenly stop this notarization? And then we already read this on page 263, 17.11, not to alter the related journal entry, but prepare additional one if you had to make error correction. Let me see, is there anything else? And I highlight it. I don't think it was. Nope. That was it for me for the journal record chapter. What about you?
I'm looking here to see.
Okay.
I don't think there was
For
much of
me,
anything.
I definitely prefer to record the thumbprint in my journal entries.
I think I paid a lot of attention to written requests about your journal. They talk about.
Oh, wait, I can't hear you. What happened?
Oh, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, okay. You had went out. Okay. I could
Oh,
see your lips moving,
okay.
but I couldn't hear anything.
Read my lips. They're talking about journal entries that people have to put in writing, and they can request it, but it has to be and all that. And I didn't realize that they could do that. So that was a good thing to know. But other than that,
It
no.
was saying too, you could charge if somebody's requesting a copy of a journal entry, you could charge them for a copy. I saw that. Um, but you know, it's state specific. I know in my state, I think it's at $20. We could charge $20 if they request a copy of an entry of our journal. Now, I did highlight here on page 246 the recording of notarial fees. People complaining about excessive notary fees, including the assessment of costs for travel, incidentals, photocopy services. But part of the difficulty for notaries when complaints are filed is often the lack of documentation about fees, including the lack of receipts and itemized statements as to fees and reimbursed expenses.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely, if you're not recording that fee in your journal, you want to have some type of receipt or invoice book or some type of record showing what you charge them. So they can't say, well, you charged me too much anyway. Like, no, I have this carbon copy of this receipt that I gave you.
You
Right
just need to
there.
write it all down. It's just like and itemize it. Just write it down and itemize it. Your travel fees, your notary fee, all that stuff. Just itemize it.
I have so many people who say, oh, I don't need a receipt. And I always tell them, well, I have to have it for my records. So I'll give it to them. I say, it doesn't matter what you do with it, but I have to have it for my records. So I have to give this to you. And so they say, okay. All right. So we can go to chapter 18. And this chapter was super short.
Yeah.
Document signer, confidentiality, and privacy, which is really self-explanatory because the fact that we're already notaries, we know that
Right.
we should not be sharing anybody's information. We should be keeping our journals, in a safe place because we do have a lot of sensitive information in there.
Yeah.
Now, I did highlight on page 282 and 283, 18.5 and 18.6, where it was saying you should not make or retain copies of notarial certificates or documents or signers' IDs. And so I was like, well, yeah. But I just wonder, do people really do that? They keep copies?
I don't know. To me, this whole chapter is common sense to me. But maybe there is. I mean, putting it in there must have been cases where that's happened for him to make a point of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the HIPAA laws, you just don't share it.
Exactly. And then most interestingly, I found now, when you're recording the ID information, right? And the expiration date. If the expiration date happens to be the person's birthday, you only record the month and the year. You don't record the whole birthday. If you notice that the expiration date is their birth date. I was like, oh.
I didn't know that. That was interesting too. because I had no
Yeah,
clue.
very
Because I
interesting.
didn't even real social security number, the numbers on the IDs and stuff like that. It didn't occur
Serial
to me,
number.
but I was like, I'm not going to write that down. This is their info. But
Right. Yeah, I looked when because every once in a while when I read something in here, I'll go back to my state handbook, just because I want to just see what the differences is or compare them. And in my state handbook, they want you to record the ID number, the type of ID, and the issuing and the expiration date. So, because I was like, oh, well, maybe I can, get around not recording the ID number, but it does say that they want you to record that. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah. So you definitely, when reading this, you still want to just go back and see, well, what does your state want you to do? Because these books are on a general,
right.
basis. So yeah. So I was like, okay, well, good to
I
know
use our state
anyway.
site. I use our state site all the time. I'm always going in there, especially when it's been like 3 or 4 weeks since I've had a notary job. So then if something comes up, I always question it, or I'll ask the lady who's in charge of the notaries. I'll send her an email, and she
That's so
keeps
cool.
telling me
Yeah.
you're overthinking it, but she answers me back within 5 minutes. I get an email back from her. So she's really
Mhm.
good about getting back, but I'm always referring to our site about things.
That is so good. That is so good. And that's what I tell people. I'm like, you know, the Facebook groups are really cool. They're really cool to have. You have people like-minded. You guys are doing the same thing. You can kind of bounce ideas off. But when it comes to performing your notarial duties, you want to reference your state handbook first, not
Mhm.
Facebook. Your state rules. Whoever you're commissioned, with, that's who you want to, look at first. And then you could kind of ask, like, have you guys ever did this before? But people, they always want to go to the Facebook group versus like, no, you want to get into the habit of going to your state site first
It's the easy
or
way out.
handbook.
Facebook is the easy way out. It's just quick and easy, but no, because I can't answer anything about your laws or what you need to do because mine's totally different.
Yeah.
They need to get
And
familiar with their Secretary of State for notaries.
then you get the wrong information. No, you
Yeah.
can't do that. Well, what state are you in? Well, I'm in Montana. Okay, well, she's in California. They can do that. So you can't. It's like, and I try to encourage people, if you're going to ask a question, make sure you put your state so that people from your state can tell you. Instead of people from all over telling you what they can do in their state, and you probably can do it in yours, and they can't.
Right,
So
right,
yeah.
exactly.
Okay, so yeah, 18 was like you said, that was a no-brainer. We already know that,
Yeah,
so it
yeah,
wasn't
that
much to
was
go over. Yeah. So we're done. So let's see. So we're gonna do 19, 20, and let me see.
21 looks a little bit longer.
Yes. But it's,
What's it on? Look to see.
let me see. Oh my goodness, it is. Gosh, look how thick that is. 19 to 21.
It's quite a bit.
Oh
I
my
can do it if
God.
you can do it.
I can do it. I'm trying to get through this book.
I
I want
know.
to get through this book before I start teaching the
Yeah,
course,
I don't blame you. Yeah.
because I don't want to be doing this and the course. So yeah, let's go ahead and do 19 to 21.
Okay.
And then it looks like, shoot, we'll probably be done with this in like 2 or 3 more meetings with the book if we keep at that pace. Yeah.
You
Well,
start your first
I
course
would say,
February 3rd, right? And your first group is
mhm,
February 3rd. Yeah. We
yeah.
can do it.
Yep. So yeah, let's do 19 to
Some of it might
21.
be like, some of it might be just like this one, self-explanatory. So
Exactly. And then you end up skimming through it because it keeps repeating itself, you know. Mm.
Yeah.
It was worth
We'll
the
see.
read though.
Oh, and
Worth the read.
you know, even though 17 was something he keeps repeating over and over again, there's still a few points in there that we brought out and questioned. So it's okay.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
worth it.
And I like my highlighter. I be highlighting, you know, stuff and then sometimes I'll highlight something I just want to go back to. Like I want to go back to it, like I said, or compare it to my state handbook and see like what are the differences. So yeah. All right
Yep.
then. Well, that's
All right.
it. Oh, I sent you a new email. Did you get it?
Did you send it?
Sent it right before the meeting.
No, but I haven't gotten
I
it yet.
didn't
No.
check it
I ate
yet. Okay.
dinner. This is my dinner hour, so I ate dinner and rushed in here. So
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I'll look at it.
All right. Okay. Yeah. It was just me updating the schedule and making sure I put it on there Eastern time, and then I added on there how you will be receiving another email from me because I realized I omitted that when you asked like, so when am I going to get the? And I'm like, why did I put that in the first email? So I kind of just added it. And so for the other group that's starting, when I emailed them the corrected one, letting them know you're going to also get another email because I didn't want you to be looking in there too early because I'm still editing some things. So like a few like 3 days before, I'm gonna send you the email with the access code and everything. And when you put the access code there, you'll be able to go in and browse everything.
Okay. Yeah, that's
So,
perfectly fine. I just didn't see anything about that. And when it said printed materials, I'm like,
no,
oh, how do we
no.
get those? So perfect.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy that you were the first person. So like to get the first email so I could do the trial and error. Like, oh yeah, I probably should have added that. So yeah. So that way it
I
won't
think
be any questions. You know everything that's going on.
we'll get you all
So
smoothed
thank
out.
you.
It'll get you smooth. And I'm glad
Yeah.
you've got your first group. I think that's exciting that you got your first group already. I think
No, I
that's good.
know. I'm super excited because, like I said, I spent so much time getting everything together. I have all of the sections together, and then I have all of the questions, and I just think you guys are going to have fun. I really do. I have fun making
Good.
it, so I know that you guys are going to have fun.
I'm looking forward to it. I
Most
can't wait.
importantly, I want it to be fun. I don't want it to be boring. I don't want you to be sitting there like, oh. I want it to be interesting. I want you to be looking like, oh, okay, you know. So yeah, so I'm excited. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I'm excited about starting it. I think it's cool.
All right, cool. All right, well, I will see you next week on Wednesday, same time, same place.
All right. See you later.
Ready? Bye.
Have a good evening.
You too.